Ladies and gents, welcome back to another video. This is going to be a pretty good one. I was not anticipating making this video for at least a couple more years, but as you can probably tell from the thumbnail, this should be a 2018 11-inch iPad Pro. I'm hoping this one was never updated. Based on the eBay listing photos, that does appear to be the case, so that's why I bought it. I paid a pretty penny for this thing, and it is hopefully going to make a pretty cool video. This is going to be a fun device. So let's get it opened up, see what kind of condition it's in, and find out if we have an 11-inch iPad Pro running iOS 12. Let's begin. All right, here is that iPad. It is very obviously an iPad Pro. This is the 2018 model. This is the first redesign with the new slim form factor, the rounded screen. We've got the camera bump on the back, quad speakers, and of course, USB-C. This is the first iPad to support that. This is the silver color. It came in silver and space gray. Personally, I think the silver looks fantastic, and that's what we have here. On the front, we have our 11-inch liquid LCD display, or I think they call it liquid retina display. I can't quite remember, but it is a fantastic display. This one does appear to have some scratches up there, as you guys can probably tell. That appears to be the worst of the damage. There are a few more scratches. They actually look worse on the camera. So we've got those up there. There is one right there in the middle. And there is another one down here at the bottom. I'm not sure if that's going to show up. But overall, very clean device. Some scratches on the display, but the corners look very good. No dents or scuff marks on the corners or the edges of this device. So hopefully it was kept in a case and it appears to be in very nice condition. So let's get this thing turned on. It is already on. It's at 5% battery. I don't know if that is enough for us to get through the video, so I think I'm going to get this plugged in for just a couple minutes with what was included in the box at the time. You did get an 18-watt USB-C power brick. This was the revised looking one with the USB-C connector. This is a 20-watt, so not quite the exact same as you would get there. And then, of course, we have our 3 feet USB-C to USB-C cable. So let me give this a little bit of a charge so that we have enough power to make it through a complete video, and then we'll be right back. All right, the iPad has been charging for a little bit, and we are up to 25%. That should be plenty to get through this video. So here we are, iPad Pro 2018 11-inch. We'll go ahead and swipe up there, and this is definitely looking like iOS 12. We do have that stock wallpaper, and there are a few other key differences here on the applications on the home screen. Just to be sure, we're going to head into Settings, General, and About, and you can see we have iOS 12.3.1, and this is the iPad Pro 11-inch. This is a 64 gig model. Now, this iPad Pro came out in October of 2018, and it came with iOS 12.1. So we are not quite on the earliest version, but it is still pretty hard to find one of these on iOS 12 at all. This was a very popular iPad. It completely changed Apple's design language and opened up the door towards the future designs that we are currently with. So let's talk about the exterior of the device. We've got ourselves an 11-inch Retina display. It is a ProMotion display, which is not going to show up here for you guys, but this is a 120 hertz panel. Super smooth, and this just looks fantastic. I remember when I had one of these devices back when it launched, it was unbelievable. I upgraded from an iPad Air 2nd gen to this thing, and the change was dramatic. This thing is so smooth, so fast. Everything you do on here is just seamless. There are no stutters at all, especially here on iOS 12, which is what this thing launched with. I mean, I can fly through these applications and there is no slowdown from this device at all. It handles everything fantastically. The brains behind this device is the Apple A12 Bionic chip. That is an 8-core with 4 high performance and 4 high efficiency cores. Paired with that is 4 gigs of RAM if you have the 64, 256, or 512 gig iPad. And if you got the 1 terabyte model, you actually got an additional 2 gigabytes of RAM to bump you up to 6, which at the time was the most any iOS device had ever had. Our graphics inside here is a 7-core chip. It is exceptionally fast, and that's what allows the buttery smooth 120 hertz frame rate for our iPad Pro. When this thing came out, it was a screamer. This device, as you can see here, it's so smooth. It does everything fantastically, and it looks unbelievable. This design has not aged one bit. It still looks every bit as modern as it did almost 6 years ago when this device came out. I can't believe it's been 6 years. This thing looks phenomenal. So let's move along to the exterior. Here we have our power button at the top. We have 2 microphones in the middle. We have 2 speakers on either side there. We got another microphone here on the left side. Down at the bottom, we've got our USB-C port and 2 more speakers for a total of 4 speakers on this iPad. Over here on the right side, we have the connector for the Apple Pencil, which I actually have a 2nd gen Apple Pencil. So for the first time, I can actually use this pencil on a device. None of the other devices I made a video on have supported that 2nd gen Apple Pencil. Now we are able to do that. So I'm actually sort of surprised that this worked. It is currently paired to my M2 iPad Pro, but it turned out to just sync fine here on this iPad. So if we head into Apple Pencil, you can see we do have a few settings here, and this is fantastic for taking notes. This was the first iPad where the pencil snapped on magnetically and charged up there at the top. All the other models either plugged into the lightning port, which was very awkward to have the pencil kind of just plugged in like that to charge, or you had to use an adapter with a lightning cable. This is so much easier, and it's actually all I've ever known because this was my first iPad and my first Apple Pencil. And to finish up the exterior, we do have that little port there. That is where the pencil connects and charges wirelessly. And then we have our volume buttons up there at the top. Moving around to the rear, it is a beautiful aluminum enclosure. Down here at the bottom, we do have the smart connector for the smart cases and keyboard. I do have a smart case. It is not the same one that you got back in 2018. You can see it has the larger camera cutout, but it does fit, and I believe the magnets line up just as they should. So it snaps in like that, and then it kind of sandwiches the iPad with the sides still exposed. When I got one of these back in the day, and even still today when I use this, it is a little bit concerning not to have any protection around the outside. But in my experience, as long as you don't drop the iPad, it is more than enough. And flipping around to the back here, you can see it does look a little funky because we've got extra room up there for the larger camera setup that is in the current gen iPad Pros, but it looks just fine. And this is the smart case that you can use to stand up your iPad like this, or you can turn it in this direction and have it with a more flat angle. So what else do we have going on here with this iPad? Well, one thing Apple changed with this specific model iPad Pro is the camera. So an interesting fact is that the 2nd gen iPad Pro, the 10.5 and the 12.9, had a 12 megapixel lens with optical image stabilization. So that carried over from the iPhones, starting with the iPhone 6 Plus. And for whatever reason, Apple took that away on this device. There is no optical image stabilization. And as far as I know, those were the only iPad models to have it. So while we do have a 12 megapixel lens with an LED flash up there, no image stabilization. But this thing is the first iPad to be able to record 4K 60 FPS. So up until this time, you could only get 4K 30. Now we've got 4K 60. And as usual, I'm going to show you guys how that looks and sounds. So we're going to go ahead and start a video here, and we'll switch over. And there you guys got a look and a hear of how this iPad records video and audio. Something else we had to talk about is Face ID. This is the first iPad to feature that. So you can see up here, we've got ourselves the front-facing camera, of course, but we do have those extra sensors which allow this device to have Face ID. Up until this point, every other iPad had a home button with built-in Touch ID. This iPad, of course, got rid of the home button. We've got these much thinner bezels on all 4 sides. We've got a rounded off display and then Face ID up here for Face ID unlocking in any orientation of the iPad. So you could hold it in any direction and it is able to unlock just fine. The speakers on this iPad sound really nice. Of course, we've got the quad speakers, 2 on each side, and depending on the orientation of the iPad, they will play different frequencies. So the bottom 2 speakers, when the device is in landscape mode, will play the deeper bass sounds, while the top 2 will play the mids and the high range. If we tilt the iPad this way, all of a sudden now it's these 2 speakers that do the low end and these 2 do the high end. So it's kind of interesting and it allows for very immersive audio. Overall, listening to music or watching content on this device is great for the speakers and the display. Really looks nice. This is a fantastic LCD panel. And I think to really show it off, we're gonna head into settings and we're gonna check out some of these iOS 12 wallpapers. Unfortunately, I don't know much about iOS 12 in terms of what features came out. So if you guys wanna leave some comments down below what your favorite or least favorite or most interesting feature from iOS 12 is, and let me know what you guys come up with. So this is the iOS 10 wallpaper. This one launched with the iPad Pro 2nd gen, but I think it looks fantastic. And you can really see how nice the colors are on this display. And that, I think, is the biggest takeaway here, is the overall design of the iPad and the display. It is just fantastic. Here in 2024, almost 6 years since this came out, this iPad still feels brand new and it looks fantastic. It is unbelievably smooth. I'm tempted to even say that this iPad feels faster than my M2 iPad Pro 11-inch. There's just something about iOS 12 and this ProMotion Liquid Retina LCD display. It is a treat. Super cool to get this device. It is fantastic. Very, very neat. And to find one on iOS 12, I honestly was not expecting this for at least a couple more years. I think I caught all the major points about this iPad Pro, and it is a wonderful product and it looks fantastic. iOS 12 is the newest legacy version of iOS. I don't exactly know what defines something as legacy, but we are at iOS 12 now. So it's hard to believe that this is considered a legacy device with its software, because this thing still supports iPadOS 18. So this thing came out with iOS 12 and it got 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and now we are on its 6th major iOS update. And I honestly think this thing will do just fine next year if Apple decides to give it iPadOS 19, but they may not do that. I think it's going to be a heavy shift towards the Apple Silicon products. But until then, we'll get to enjoy this device. This has been a quick look here at an iPad Pro 11-inch from 2018. This one's still running iOS 12 just like it did when it was released. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in another one of my videos.